Hi everybody, it's Luke from FootTech back with another video. We put out a video a couple of weeks ago which was titled "Is Ball Mastery Dead?" and we went into some of the reasons why we don't do individual ball work anymore, and we got a lot of questions from that. So there was coaches out there asking us why and going into a bit more depth, and certainly asking for ideas around what they can do with their beginner players if they're not going to do individual ball mastery. So we wanted to just go over a few points today around that, some ideas for coaches in terms of what you can do instead of individual ball mastery, which is actually going to help the development of your players and probably improve them for the game quicker than just focusing on the ball mastery side of things. So just as a sort of a reminder really, why we don't do it anymore. When we first started, and probably for the first 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years or so of FootTech, a big part of our session was individual ball mastery. Each child had a ball at their feet and we take them through skills and different touches with the ball and so forth. They had fun, they liked it, and we definitely saw some improvements, and the control of the ball, the confidence with the ball improved quite a lot. They became good dribblers, but the reason why we stopped doing it was what we found was when we put them into a game context, their decision making wasn't as good as it possibly could be. So they were really confident with the ball, really confident dribblers, but they probably didn't know when to release the ball. So they didn't know when to pass, didn't know when to shoot. What they really liked to do was get hold of the ball and try to take everybody on, which again was great for a child. It was great to see that they had that confidence, but think of it in a game context. We're looking for decision makers. We're looking for players that can make the best decisions based on what's going around them, based on perception. And we just found that perhaps we needed to tweak what we do to help them not only become confident on the ball and with the ball, but help them make those right decisions. So we tweaked our approach, and we now promote more of a street style, more of a games based approach, which we're going to talk about shortly. But what we sort of looked at was, do professional footballers, are they using toe taps? Okay, so toe tap's one of the age-old ball mastery moves. Certainly for the little ones, it's just tapping the ball with the bottom of their feet over and over again. We used to do it where they could close their eyes, they could do spins around the ball and so forth. And again, a little bit of fun and what have you, and perhaps a better thing for the younger players. But how many times in the game is that used? And some will argue, yeah, but it's all about soul control. It's like, but is there a better way of doing that? Is there a better way of showing them soul control without them just doing it unopposed? No defenders around them. And that's what it was all about. It was all, we were doing these things, but they were unopposed. They had no pressure on them. That's not the game. So what we wanted to do was, as I say, create these dribblers, these confident footballers that could take people on but release the ball, take people on and shoot, or just make the best. If a dribble is not the best decision, can they make the right pass? And that's what we've tried to promote now for the last sort of 2 or 3 years or so, and it's working. And one of the conversations I had this week with one of our senior coaches, who I coach with on a Monday evening, we were looking at the players. We have an older group that's perhaps some of them are new to football, and so they're taking their first steps into football, and we need to sort of accelerate their development faster with them going to high school and so forth, and football becoming a bit more serious. We want to make sure that they're confident with a ball ASAP. So the easy thing would have been, right, there's a ball, let's do all these skills, blah, blah, blah. But we know they need more than that. And so we were looking at the players that we've had over the last few months, and there was one player in particular who, over the last few weeks, has really impressed us with his soul control, with his ability to drag the ball back, take it left, take it right, take it backwards, all with the sole of his foot. But we've never taught him that. Not once have we ever done toe taps. Not once have we ever worked on drag backs. What we have done is develop practices that mean that he's been forced to think about what might be the best option for him. So in these instances, he's thought, okay, if I put my foot on top of the ball and drag it that way, that's going to help. And slowly but surely, he started to understand when to do that in the context of the game, which is what I'm going to keep coming back to. It's the context of the game. So We've never shown him anything. We've never done toe taps with him or anything. But all of a sudden, he's developed this ability to be able to drag the ball left, drag the ball right, drag it backwards, away from danger, based on what's going on around him. And it's really interesting. This has happened with pretty much every player that we've had over the last couple of years. You can see they're developing these little moves, which we've not shown them. It's just they've been forced to do it because of the games that we've been showing them. So it goes back to a quote that this legend said, and in as many words, technique is not juggling the ball 1,000 times. Technique is being able to pass the ball first time to a teammate with the right speed to the right foot. And that can apply to passing, it can apply to dribbling, and it can apply to shooting. All the key things in a football match that a player needs to do, that is technique. Technique is not doing side to sides. Technique is not doing toe taps. Technique is not doing rainbow flicks. Technique is that. Technique is the things that we're going to use 80% of the time that make all the difference. So this is what we need to be teaching children early, but we need to be doing it in the right environment. So how do we do that? How do we do that with beginner players that are new to football? How do we do that with players that are older but new to football, like I've just mentioned earlier on? And that's what we're going to come on to shortly, with some ideas around what you can do with your players, no matter the level. But certainly in this video, we're going to talk about the beginner side of things, some of the simple stuff you can do. And what you're about to see is, it's not revolutionary. It's very, very simple, but it's as close to the game as possible without putting them straight into matches at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and expecting them to be brilliant. What I would say, I would caveat this with, we're not saying don't do ball mastery, don't do individual ball mastery. What we're saying is, if you're a grassroots football coach and you've got your team for an hour a week plus a game, you've got to maximise that hour. And for us, 15, 20, 25 minutes of individual skills, individual ball mastery, as much as it's going to look great to parents, and that's a big thing I know for coaches, they want to appease the parents as well. It's going to look great, everybody's doing things in unison, and you know, the child can do these things after 4 weeks that they couldn't do at the start. It all looks fantastic, but put them into a game on a Sunday and they're not going to be able to do it when there's defenders around them, or they certainly won't be able to do it as fast as they would be if you look at the games-based model and our street style model. So what we're saying is that with ball mastery, you can use it. And how we use it at FootTech is, certainly for myself, if I'm setting up a new drill after we've done the first part of a session and I've got, say, a couple of minutes where I'm just moving corners around or whatever, I'll say, right, get a ball. Everybody, can you beat your keepy up record? And you can do that on your own, you can do it in twos. Or I might give them a skill and say, right, who can do this? You've got 2 minutes. And let them just go and explore with the ball and try these things. I might give them homework. It might be that they've seen something on, you know, a match at the weekend, and I'll say, okay, great. So can you do that and show me next week? So we're not saying there's not a place for it. What we're saying is that there's a place for it away from the bulk of your session. If you were to have your players maybe 4 times a week, potentially have an element of it. But a lot of the people watching this won't have that luxury. So can you get them doing it in between drills? Can you get them doing it if they're at home? Because what we're also certainly saying is that individual ball mastery beats sat down watching TV, sat down swiping on a screen, certainly. But there's better things that they can be doing other than just toe taps and so forth. Ball and wall would be one thing for us that I think is one of the best things they can do as individually at home. But then certainly trying skills, telling them to beat the keepy up records and things like that. All these things, it's going to be much better than them sat down doing nothing. Get them to watch the game. That's a big thing. But certainly, yeah, in that case, get out with a ball, do some stuff. If they've got goals in the garden, try and hit the crossbar. Just these things, just getting them used to using different parts of the foot, used to lifting a ball, getting used to keep the ball on the ground. Ideally, if they can do that with a friend and play 1v1, that's better than just doing it on their own, but we don't all have that luxury. So get them doing it, but get them doing it away from your sessions. Your sessions need to be focused on making them better for the game. So let's have a look at some of the things that we might do. So beginners, it's going to be all about passing, shooting, dribbling. But instead of just getting two players passing a ball to one another, can we make it more of a game context? But can we also get a little bit of opposition in there just to make it more game-like? So this is a simple one you can use that's basically two goals spread wide apart. You've got one player, the blue, that's going to act as the defender, and one player, the red, that's going to act as the passer. Now, the passer, their conditions are that they must use the side of their foot, so they can't be blasting this. It's a pass. They've got to try and pass to one of the two goals. You make this pretty wide, so the blue player finds it a little bit harder to get to either side. So there's a little bit more success for the beginner red player, and that's just going to work on their passing technique, but in more of a game context. As I say, you can then switch around after a few turns. The blue can have a go, obviously. And we're just looking here for them to be touching the ball as much as possible, but trying to use that pass. And then what you can do with this is get them to do something like a dribble from a line. So they'll dribble from the end line up towards the passing line and then pass a ball. So they're getting lots of touches of the ball, but they're not massively opposed yet. There's a little bit of opposition, but they're still getting plenty of the ball, they're still getting plenty of touches of the ball, and then there's a little opponent to go against when it comes to the pass at the end. So you're still getting that, the thing that ball mastery does a lot, which is the touch of the ball, but you're getting it more in a game context. There's a little bit more opposition here. And then what I might do after a while, after a few weeks, once they start getting that, is allow that defender to come out of there and create a bit more of a 1v1 once they get it. Okay, let's look at dribbling. So here, again, another really simple one, which is the theme of this. These are not hard things to set up. You can do this with 4 cones, so two cones on each side for goals if you don't have the luxury of a lot of goals. And all they're doing is we're going to challenge the blue to have, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches before they get to the red line, and then it becomes a 1v1. Can you get it past the red player and score? And then we'll let the red player have a turn. And again, you can see here, so they're getting lots of touch of the ball before they get to that red line, but then it becomes a 1v1 and there's that opposition. So we're just putting them in a game context without it being a simple 1v1 straight away where they might not get all those touches. They know there's a defender coming, so they're thinking about that, which is what we want. We want them to be thinking about what's coming. So lots of touch of the ball there, and you can stipulate the touch as well. Like I say, you can say now they've got to have 10 touches, and you might even throw in, can you do a little skill before you get to the line if you really want. But the emphasis here is lots of touches of the ball, but then let's get into that 1v1 and let's make it an actual contest. And this is one that my players love, that certainly the ones that I started working with that were complete beginners. Simple again, so 2 goals, 2 lines on each side. The blue player, this is a shooting drill. The blue player is just simply going to try and have a shot goal. The red player has got to try and control the ball with their feet and let it basically try and hit it back before it goes over their line, so their yellow cones there. Now, if the ball does cross that line, the ball will then go back to the other player. So in this situation here, the blues had a shot, the reds had a good touch and been able to pass it back, or being able to shoot back at the blue, but the blues had a bad touch, in which case the game starts again, but the red player gets the ball first. So this time we're practicing shooting, but it's in a game context again. There's a goalkeeper, but what we're going to do is we're going to say to the goalkeeper, you can only use your feet. So now the players, the beginner players, are working on their control as well as their shooting technique. So you see, these things aren't hard when you just have a little think. It's just simply about making it as game-like as possible, but then adding in stipulations to make the players get more contact time with the ball, but going back to that game context. So, as I say, this one here is perfect because they've now got to look at their close control. The thing that I do with beginner players is you can make the lines bigger, make the lines longer. So, again, success rate is increased. As they get better, you can say, okay, now you've got 1 touch, then you must shoot. At the start, it can be as many touches as they like, just until they get used to it. But as they get better, start saying, okay, now you've got 2 touches, then you must have a shot. Now you've got 1 touch, then you must have a shot. And you can just add these stipulations in as they improve. But hopefully, that has given you some good ideas. But as always, just drop us a line if you need anything else. We're always happy to help, and good luck with these. Hope they work with your players.